So, most of you may be aware that there is a WhatsApp group. It's not a group, it's a WhatsApp channel, which is a new feature that WhatsApp has come up with. And if you'd like, you can connect with me on the WhatsApp channel. So, the link for the channel is given in the description box. So, if any of you would like to join, you're most welcome. So this is a short live session, and if you'd like to ask anything, you can ask. It's a question answer session, so feel free to ask anything you would like. You can type it in the chat box and I will respond to it. And please let me know, am I audible to you? Thank you. This is not a talk as such. I just thought that I often do interactions on Zoom. So perhaps some of you may not be able to come there. So I thought that I'll have a Facebook Live here and you can ask anything. If you have any questions, if you like to share anything, you can post your question in the chat box and I will respond to it. Or if you'd like me to speak on a certain subject, that also you can let me know. So meanwhile you think of a question, I will just in brief tell you what the message is all about. So this message is not about enlightenment. It is not about attaining anything. It is simply about discovering peace, peace of mind, the place of love within oneself. The peace which is not dependent on external circumstances, but the peace that is one's true nature. So this message is all about self-knowledge, self-discovery. And non-duality is one such philosophy which explores this possibility. There are different teachings, different traditions, there are various paths, but all lead to only one destination, which is the peace. A very common question that I get is that what do I have to do to attain the peace? And my direct answer to that is nothing you have to do to attain peace. Your true nature is peace. It is all the doership that prevents us from this understanding, from seeing what we truly are. So, doership keeps us trapped in the cycle of doing, attaining, achieving. Once we are free from all of that, then the natural state comes up spontaneously. So, there is one question: how do you stop thinking about the past? So, you see, it is mind's nature to think. So, mind will always move. Its very nature is movement. It is not possible to stop thinking about the past. But what really affects us is not the thinking itself, but the thinking that is accompanied by an unpleasant sensation. Because when we go back to the past, it is the unpleasant sensation which bothers us the most, and we don't want to feel that. So once we understand how this process of thinking is taking place, and more importantly, to whom is the process of thinking taking place, then it becomes clear that there is nothing to be done to stop thinking, but to see thinking the way it is happening. Generally, we say that these are my thoughts. So, when we take that kind of ownership with the thoughts, so one person says the problem is our identification with the thought. Yes, that is true. And at the root of that identification is the sense of personal identification or me. I think that I am thinking. What the message says is that you are not the thinker. Thought is simply arising in the space of consciousness. It is playing out and then it disappears. And for the moment where it causes discomfort, we that is where we come up with tricks, methods, and techniques to curb that thinking. So the thoughts are not to be curbed, because what you curb, suppress or repress, that becomes stronger. It only adds to your sense of personal identification. So understand your relationship with your thinking, with your thoughts, with each and every identification, with each and every part of conditioning that has happened throughout our lives. What is our relationship with our own image, the image in which we see our body, our mind, our religion, our profession, our loved ones, our relationship with them, what kind of attachment do we have with them. So, all of this needs to be examined. Otherwise, trying to stop the thoughts or trying to control the mind is a recipe for disaster, because mind is very strong. The mind cannot be overpowered by thinking. Thinking is not going to solve the problem of thinking. There has to be something more than thinking to solve the problem of thinking. And that is the space of the heart. So there is one question: does every soul should embark on the enlightenment journey as a final realization? So, I'm not very clear about what enlightenment is. Only when I'm really clear as to what enlightenment is, I can, embark on a journey. This is a great, this is a problem, that most of us are not actually very clear as to why, what we are seeking. It is very fancy to be spiritual and to be seeking and to be trying to question the nature of existence and everything. But at the end of it, what are we trying to find? That has to be clear. So, unless and until that question is not solved, the whole point of seeking becomes meaningless. Now, if we say that enlightenment is a state of permanent bliss, then we'll be disappointed, because there is no such thing as permanency in this phenomenality in the world, because world is an interconnected opposites of two. So happiness comes accompanied with unhappiness. Any attempt to break that link is going to create pain. This is a fact. Try to cling to happiness, you will experience pain. Try to cling to pain, you will also remain in pain. And some people do get cling to pain as well. That is the nature of the mind, the me mind. It has the sticky nature. You create your own reality, you create your own thoughts, you identify with your thoughts, and then you find a solution to get out of it. But sometimes finding a solution itself becomes a problem, because, again, thinking is not going to solve the thinking's problem. So there is one comment which says, I feel I'm lucky to have you. Many thanks to you. And I feel the same way about you. I feel I'm lucky to have you all. Because whatever comes from me, it comes from the heart. And I see the same love being reciprocated by you. So it is not that I think it's all about companionship in the end. So there is one comment. I have witnessed how judgment to others give rise to criticism, anger, jealousy, hurt, and other negative emotions. Same judgment pointed to self creates low self esteem, fear, anxiety, etc. Yes, this is very true. And this is what my message is whole about. It is my message is not about enlightenment. You cannot get anything, you cannot attain anything that you do not know. So that is why I ask you that what is it that you're trying to achieve? What peace, what happiness is there which can be retained permanently? I'm yet to find it. There is no happiness or peace, the worldly peace, the dualistic happiness that can become permanent. Acceptance of that itself brings peace. And, as the comment says here, criticism, anger, jealousy, and these are things which I have experienced within myself. I have gone through that phase and I have seen the futility of it. All the criticism, negativity that we project towards others is actually a diversion from what's going on within. Nothing is happening outside. Everything, every feeling, sensation is within. And this is the thing that we don't want to face who we are. We don't want to face the image that has been created. So we busy try to project, that is an easy way. I was a very cynical person, and my cynicism was based on my lack of trust, my lack of compassion. And when you have such an attitude, you tend to get caught up in stories. That's why, it says the me and my story. The more you enforce that story, the more you believe in it, the stronger it becomes for you. So why not create a pleasant reality for yourself? Why should anybody define reality for us? Create your own reality, make your own mistakes. Yes, you will suffer. Yes, you will experience pain. But what's so bad about it? In the end, it will make you into a much sorted person. So, the whole idea here is not to live on borrowed concepts, but to experience the reality for your own self and come up with your own personal insights and experiences. Life has to offer so much, but we get caught up. We never question. So this mind itself, which we see the mind as the root of the problem, but this mind is the only key. It is the key to true realization. So there is a question how to remain intensely in witnessing. We can't remain intensely in witnessing. This is beyond individuals' control. The power that started the witnessing is the power that will end the witnessing at point where it is required. And of course, if we remain throughout in witnessing, then it is difficult to live life, because sometimes life requires involvement. Suppose when you're crossing a road, you need to be a bit involved. You need to check if the cars are coming from the opposite end. Or when you are, say, going on a hike in the mountains, you have to be a bit involved over there. But that said, as the presence within grows more and more, with the deep understanding that everything is happening and nobody actually does anything, the quality of witnessing more or less becomes a permanent feature. So this happens by itself. This happens through the understanding. The life itself brings us situations. It the life itself carves the path for us, and the witnessing happens on its own. And why should we even bother when we know that nobody is the doer? We are not in control of anything. Then why should we even bother about our own self-realization, or when the witnessing will start? It will happen on its own, and that is the beauty of it. It is not something we start. It is something which happens. So there is one comment: I have observed ups and downs in my life. There is a lot of clarity and balance during my so called good times, but when I observe my downs, it is difficult to just observe. Can you help me here? So, this is the thing here. It is not you that observes. The notion of you is the sense of personal identification or the ego. So, you don't observe anything, the observation happens. And in the observations, everything plays out: the ups, the downs, the pleasant sensations, the unpleasant sensations. You cannot control this process, but the more witnessing happens, you start to see the illusory nature of these so called good and bad times. You see that it is an alternating cycle. So, when that clarity, when it becomes deep, when it penetrates within and, becomes your being, you don't get all that troubled during the bad times, because then you have accepted the unpredictable nature of life, and you have accepted that it is beyond the ego's control to understand it or to manipulate it. So you, as a result, you start taking things easy. You're not that caught up in life. You enjoy life, certainly, but you're not all that caught up. You're not fighting with life, you're simply experiencing life. And that is the message here. Till you think of yourself as a separate person, living a separate life, in competition with others, then you have a constant battle at your hand. Then you live with constant guilt and shame for your failures, and pride and arrogance for your successes, both of which create enhance the sense of personal identification. So there is one. comment, it says, has the quality of witnessing changed when there is no more resistance to witnessing? It just happens as a background without any expectation or goal. When there is no more resistance to witnessing. Yes, of course, when there is no resistance, you find yourself in pure presence. Now, it is a state which cannot be explained. And I would say that it is a state of bliss, a very natural state, a very peaceful state. However, that said, it is not a permanent state. Even samadhi, the complete absorption of this subject object relationship, the complete cessation of that, the state of shunya is also not a permanent state. The ego still comes back because we are in phenomenality and ego is required. But then the quality of that ego undergoes a change. So I would say witness doesn't increase. The quality of witnessing does not increase. It is that the ego suspends doership. So more peace and calm is felt. The peace and calm, which, by the way, is already your base. It is already your natural state. It is right here, right now, in this moment. The thing is that all the thinking, all the trying to control things, trying to change things, trying to change people, trying to change myself for others, trying to be a good person, trying to be a certain way, trying to conform to a certain idea, living in fear, living in conformity, living in imitation, all of those things create a barrier to this peace. Now, every night when these barriers are not there and you are in your deep sleep, you experience that peace. So once these barriers are seen for what they are, then the same peace of the deep sleep comes into our waking state. So even when one is not peaceful, even that is seen with peace. So witnessing is not a goal. It is not an expectation. Expectation and goal is always of the ego. So ego wants to become a better witness. Ego sees things like that. Because the idea of betterment, ego is completely drowned in the idea of self improvement, self betterment. Now, I'm not saying that you should not do that. Of course, whatever you do in life, seek betterment, but then nothing is going to change the. Sorry, I lost my thought. Okay, so another comment. Yes, I feel that every intellectual has a healthy dose of cynicism till it becomes unbearable. Then they torment themselves in the name of spirituality till they discover their true nature. Yes, that is very true. So, healthy skepticism is a very different thing from cynicism. And, it is our personal energy that we are always aware of because we are made up of awareness. So, at every stage, you can sense what is happening. So, if you are aware, what you'll see is that, say, when you are doing a critical analysis about a subject, let's say spirituality or any other subject, you see your energy. Is it of calm and restfulness, or is there anxiety? Now, usually, what happens when the inner state is calm, then the criticism or the skepticism that comes out is usually of a very different quality. But when the energy within is of unrest, when it comes from a place of turbulence, then usually then that is the fine line between the healthy skepticism and the cynicism. So cynicism is like ego purely diving deep into the turbulent waters and saying that this is what life is, all misery, all pain. But when you go into the depths of the ocean, below at the base is all calm and restfulness. Now it is not separate from the surface. The bottom of the ocean is not separate from the surface. They are the same, but it's just that there is more clarity at the bottom. So eventually, what it boils down to is the acceptance of what is, the unaltered and unpredictable flow of life, in which pleasure and pain are the interconnected opposites. The acceptance of that brings peace. So there is a comment. There's a strong feeling of jealousy when I see people having good friendship or loving relationship. It hurts a lot as I never got to experience that in my life. Again, it comes down to where are these feelings emerging from. So these feelings emerge from the sense of separate existence. And what we are seeing in the case of others is images. Because you see, when we give statements like these, that others are having good friendship and loving relationships, how do we know that? How do, just because on the basis of social media? No, it is a story which has been spun in our mind. We are just looking at an image and we are concluding that others are happy, that my life is not happy. You see, this is the nature of ego. It assumes. Now, we are not saying ego is good or bad. That is not the thing here. We don't discuss this teaching from that perspective of good and bad. There's nothing good or bad or judgmental about this. Is a common scenario with all of us. So, it is very easy to get caught up into certain paradigms. So if you are, say, for example, if you're all the time on social media and you are scrolling pictures, then obviously you will find that everybody is living a happy life. Now I say that focus on yourself. You are lucky that you get to know that the jealousy is coming arising within you. But it is a sensation. It is not you per se. It is the ego which comes up later and claims ownership of the sensation. It says, I am jealous. But jealousy is there. That is okay. Jealousy comes, it plays, and it goes. So I don't create any negativity towards myself for being jealous. Why should I? Because the message says that you are not the doer. So you are also not the creator of the jealousy. So what I say is focus on your life, focus on your situations, what is happening with you. And then you will see the changes happen through the flow of life. As more and more compassion arises within you towards your own self, you become a magnet. Then people automatically come to you, because when you're radiating love to everyone, then they also do the same. You get the same energy from others. But if there is an energy of doubt, envy, jealousy within, then people can sense it. Human beings are quite intuitive in that sense. But it's okay. This is nothing to berate yourself with. It is conditioning. It is not our fault that we are this way. It happened. Life happens. Things happen. But, this message has come to you. So understand it. And the message is very simple, that everything is a happening and there is no individual doer. This is the only message. Simple. So there is one question says, the cycle of ups and downs have been going on for years. Now I observe that my attraction to my mind is getting stronger. Do I need to push myself to be aware or just continue observing? I would say be your natural self. When the observation happens, let it happen. You don't have to push anything. This teaching, this message never says that you have to push anything, you have to do anything. Because, then ultimately, who is doing the pushing? The ego only. And your true nature is the pure awareness. So I say, let the awareness do its job. This is the beauty of this message. You don't have to do anything as such. You simply have to be. Ramana Maharishi said that your job is not to be this or that. Your job is only to be. Be and know the truth. Your being itself is a place of love. And that love itself will do what is required. Where the attachments are, where the identifications are to be loosened, that will be done by that love, by that energy. So there is one comment, it says, if only I could go back to the university and tell this to my critical studies lecture, they might relax a bit. Yes, I understand. One of the greatest advice, one of the greatest teaching that I have ever received. Would you like to know who gave me? It was given to me by the elders. When I say elders, people who were beyond 90 years old. And the greatest advice was, enjoy your life and don't take anything too seriously. That was the greatest piece of advice. Only someone who has spent his lifetime, a period of 90, 80 years, and who has, gained deep understanding can say such a thing. When we are young, when we are in our 20s and 30s and 40s, our body has vitality, our body has strength. So, you know, the energy channels, they need an outlet. So we do a lot of things. And if we can't find the right path, we end up hurting ourselves. And the message by the society is to do this, to do that, you know, be very careful. Otherwise you will not have a good future. It is always a movement in either into the future, imaginary future, or into a dead past. So everybody is concerned with what is going to happen rather than what is happening right now. So if you stay in this energy of now, what is happening right now, you're already free. You're not even to bother yourself with trying to stay present in the now. the awareness itself will bring you to the now. And whenever it does that, be in that space and relax. There is no greater pointer than the pointer of relaxation. Now, if it comes to you through meditation, meditate. If it comes to you through yoga, through sports, through gym, through Pilates, through reading, through dancing, singing, art, whatever it is, relax through that. Relaxations Relaxation means there is only relaxation. There is no individual relaxing. So it means being with yourself. So there is one comment, it says, "Sir, right now I am in the dark night of the soul. I lost my calmness. There is so much hopelessness, confusion. Future seems dismal. People are leaving from life. I can't do meditation. Mind is wandering." You know, dark night of the soul can be a tough period. And usually, you know, the masters, the greatest pointer I got from them is the words of the Bible, which says, "This too shall pass." Other than that, everything is happening. It is simply a happening. See, when you understand the message, which says that events happen, but there is no individual doer of anything. So things are happening, but they are not happening to you. Once you understand this, there is no possibility of any confusion. All the sense of hopelessness and isolation that one feels is because the mind is moving frequently. It is flip flopping between two concepts. Sometimes it finds bliss in spirituality, other times it says, "No, this is all useless." So that is why, we become restless. But what happens when we completely give into the sensation? When we say, "Okay, fine, if this is the way it is meant to be, then let it be." Then what happens is that you naturally begin to relax into the feeling, and then that feeling cannot sustain. It is only the resistance which keeps the feeling alive, which keeps the sensation alive. So, that said, I would say, if you are going through a phase of dark night of the soul, be compassionate towards yourself. Try to be as loving and caring towards yourself as possible. And if it is possible for you, try to speak to people, try to meet people, you know, try to find someone with whom you can share your feelings. This is very important also, because sometimes when the feelings and sensations are too intense, it is not possible to personally deal with everything. So, if you can share your whatever you are feeling with people around, that definitely helps. But the thing is that the dark night of the soul was started by one energy, and that energy is only going to dissolve that. So there is question, brother, have you experienced nothingness firsthand? No, I never experienced nothingness, because nothingness means nothingness. There can never be a person experiencing nothingness. A lot of fear. I can't do anything. These types of thoughts come to my mind. What should I do and how long this period will continue? So I think this is the continuation of the dark night of the soul. Well, it is difficult for me to say as to how long this period will continue. In some cases, it lasts for years. In some cases, it is over in a couple of months. It is, it is difficult to say how long this will last. But, as I said, the more you try to do something about it, the more you will prolong it. Just observe everything, every feeling, thought, sensation that is arising to you at this period. And the fundamental pointer, which was given by Ramana Maharishi, which is the greatest pointer of all, is that who am I? Who is the person that all of this is happening to? Once you get to that question, then you'll automatically know what this is all about. Then thinking may still happen because mind is designed that way to create thinking, and thinking at some point is required also. In work, thinking is required. So thinking is not all bad. It's just that when we become too identified with external things, which is usually our own projection, it is then that we create pain. So understanding this whole mechanism itself brings relief. And that understanding is not a personal understanding. You do not have to put effort for it. You have to be completely effortless to see what is happening. Because effort implies ego. Effortlessness is pure witnessing. So if the effort comes up, let that also happen because that is also being witnessed. You see, witnessing happens naturally. It is the substratum. So it is not that witness and the object that is observing is are two different things. They are one and the same. You are made up of everything about you is made up of awareness. Now it has subtle aspects. And as your mind calms down slowly, steadily, as you understand the message and the message goes deep within, you will see that you begin to rest in that most subtle states of consciousness, awareness, which is what I meant by the depth of the ocean. Think of it like this. Say, um, say you are in the middle of a storm in an ocean. Now, if you are thrown into the ocean, what will you do? You will just try to protect yourself, save yourself. You will not question why is the ocean like this? Why are the waves so high? You see, that is where your thinking mind is subsided. It is struggle for survival, pure survival. So in that level of consciousness, you cannot understand why things happen the way they happen. But at some point, you will be tired of fighting the waves. At some point, you will say, okay, I give up. Now I can't do anything else. So you will give up and naturally drown into the ocean. You will say, okay, fine. If death is my destiny, let it be. And you will naturally give yourself to the ocean. Now all the tricks are over. You have tried everything, nothing has worked, you cannot fight the ocean, so you have surrendered. The ego has then surrendered. It knows that now the death is an inevitable fact. So then what happens? Then you slowly drown into the ocean and reach into the depths of the ocean. At that point, the ego is annihilated. When I say annihilated, I mean it is in its most functional and restful state. Knowing the ego now knows that nothing can be done about this. And that is where you become the ocean. That is where you become the calmness. So you don't have to feel, you don't have to try, you don't have to make an effort to be calm. But when you were on the surface, when you were fighting, when you were struggling, when you were putting effort, at that time, you could not have had the consciousness to understand how to be in the restful place. Now that you have given up, surrendered, you have drowned, now all is love and peace. Now, what happens on the ocean, you see that, but you're not much bothered about it. You accept that. because you know your true nature. So you are not at war with the world. You see injustice in the world, you see everything, and you may even speak about it. You see all the violence in the world, and you may even speak about it, but you never get involved. You get engaged, fully engaged, but you never get involved because involvement is ego. Okay, so there is. Please suggest some good books about Advaita. The end of me and my story by Jagjot Singh. Well, of course, start with start with Ramesh Balsekar's book, or I would suggest Ramesh Balsekar's video also on the YouTube Advaita channel. You can start with those, and then books. Who Am I is a very powerful book by Ramana Maharishi, but I think it will be better first if you first watch the videos, then it will be easier to grasp it. And perhaps after that, you can read I Am That from Nisargadatta Maharaj. There are many books on Advaita. But again, I would like to say that it is not the bookish knowledge which is going to help you much. Though I do recommend that. All books are helpful and they give good conceptual understanding. But again, it is the impersonal energy that works with its own will. So there is a question, brother, why do you say we are not the doer? Do you really believe that? It is just my concept. It is only a concept which I'm giving you. I'm not saying it is the truth. Now, you operate in life, and if you think that by doing something it's helpful, then by all means, go for it. But my personal experience has been that we are not the doers. Everything isn't happening because everything that happens is a result of something that happens previously. So there is no true fixed cause to anything. When we fixate cause on one particular object in the chain of infinite cause and effects, it is then that the suffering happens. Because then I see that this person or that person is the doer, then I blame them, condemn them. And that is a diversion mechanism from my own darkness. That is a ploy to escape my own darkness. Because then the ego feels satisfied that, some people have the mentality of getting back. They have this incessant urge to get back. मैं तो उसको सुना के रहूंगा. I will teach them, I will tell them. It is a very poor and miserable way to live. So for me, the message that we are not the doers has brought peace, which has stood the test of time. So it is my truth, but it necessarily does not have to be your truth. Your truth will come from your personal experiences. Okay, so next is, but we can't explain society relatives. They will say you are mad, man. We are, we are all, we all are same and follow same path, rat race. Otherwise, you have no future. Everybody is fearful, but I think we are meant to do great. You see, now my concept on this is that why should there be even a need to explain anything to the others, to the relatives, to the society? Now, of course, um, if a certain matter is related to work and somebody is intervening in that and causing trouble there, I may definitely, you know, talk to them and explain things to them. But when it comes to my personal beliefs, why cannot I be content with my ideas and let others be comfortable with theirs? Just as I am in this journey of life, exploring life from my lens, my relatives, my parents, the society, and each one of us is experiencing this life from their own lens. So, again, when I say I am not the doer, I also understand that even the others are not the doers. It is not that they choose to believe or disbelieve something. Certain life circumstances happened and they thought that this is the way to go. They thought that future has to be this way. It is their problem, it is not my problem. So just like I accept myself, I also accept them for their views and their thinking. Why should there ever be a need to change anybody? In fact, trying to change anybody or trying to convince anybody is an act of violence. And most Advaita teachers you will listen to, they say, be as you are. Whatever needs change will happen through the universe because your human intellect is very small. It cannot comprehend why things happen the way they happen. So, right now, you may think that a certain thing is good or bad for me, but again, it comes down to the fact where you are right now. Are you at the surface of the ocean or are you in the depths? If you are at the surface, it most likely you're not in a position to assess what is right for you or what should be right or wrong for others. So you see, sometimes we make decisions in haste for ourselves and for others, which sometimes backfires. So I never try to convince anybody that this is the truth. I say you experience it and come to a conclusion through your own personal experience. You don't have to believe a single word I'm saying. And what matters in the end? Intellectual knowledge. There are books, books of philosophies. There are great Greek philosophers. You can read all those. Definitely, they are helpful. They're great theories. But true peace is not in books. The true peace is not even in any teaching. The true place of peace is deep within you. That is the depth of the ocean, and ocean is infinite. So the possibility of peace is only love. It is not the worldly love based on appearances. It is the love of the infinite, which includes everything. It includes wars, it includes violence, everything. It includes compassion, kindness, tenderness. So we accept that life is an interconnected opposite of dual, good, bad, virtue, vice, moral, immoral. But it is beyond our intellectual capacity to understand the immensity of the universe. So, as Ramana Maharishi would say, his words, not mine, he says, be concerned with yourself first. Know yourself first, and then see if a need arises to convince others or not. Once you are in a happy place, once you are in the place of love, generally there is not a need to convince anybody of what is right and what is wrong, because you are reveling in the energy of peace and love. For the first time, when this revelation happened to me, for the first time, I learned how to live without anxiety. what it means to be without anxiety many years back. And that one glimpse was so life changing. Now, I did not do anything to make that happen. It happened. But when it happened, I was completely receptive. I was prepared to die for it. So there was no effort from my side to understand it, to analyze it, but to completely feel it. So therefore, I say, whatever happens within you, feel it without trying to verbalize anything, without trying to label the sensation as good or bad, because that is what keeps us trapped within the thinking. Once the association between the thought and sensation is broken up, you see that everything is just a simple happening, not happening to anyone. So there is a comment which says, yeah, true about the impersonal energy that I am experiencing. I can view myself what emotion or thoughts I am going through initially, which was not there initially. Yes, that is quite true. Let the observation happen, and the change will happen through that observation. You see, even in psychology, the conscious mind, they say, is a very small part of our existence. A majority of our traits are governed by the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind. And beyond all of that is the light of witnessing, which is the awareness in all its purity. So, the whole idea behind this message is to become comfortable with oneself, the way we are. Because the world keeps telling us that we should be this way or that way. And if you watch most people, their grand ideas of what the future should be, you will see how miserable they are themselves. This is what I have seen. Parents fighting with each other over small things, getting frustrated in life, and then telling their children that they should follow this path, that path, they should do this. So, what they are doing is, see, it is not that they are at fault here. It is not that I'm telling you to blame them. Try to understand their position. Try to see where their fear comes from. Their fear comes from their family, their parents. It passes on unconsciously from one generation to another. They think that following a fixed template is going to give them security, but they continuously live with the sense of insecurity. So, when you start focusing on yourself, that means when you start asking the question, who am I? The self knowledge itself frees you from the burdens of these identifications which are causing trouble in life. Other than that, nothing is to be done. Now, that said, I say, I'm not saying that the therapy is bad or that other teachings are bad. Every teaching has their goods and bads, benefits. Whatever suits you, see that, adopt that. It is not that one teaching will liberate you from this karmic burden. It is only self knowledge that will bring you to that place of peace that I talk about. So, in the end, it is all about love, compassion, and tenderness of the heart. Without that, living in the living in dualism, living connected, deeply connected to one idea and abhorring the other ideas, you will always find yourself restless. So, sometimes, how should I say this? My experience is that when you do nothing, nothing happens. When you do nothing, nothing happens. But you see, my telling you that will not help, because the thought that I am the doer came from the source, and it is the source only which will dissolve that thought. But it is always helpful to read books and listen to the teachings, because you never know what strikes when. For me, this was very clear. Like, I had read some verses from Adi Shankaracharya, but somehow it never struck a chord. But the moment I heard Ramesh Balsekar saying that everything is will of God and that you are not the doer, it immediately struck a chord. So his words were meant to deliver the message to me. And those words at that moment, instantly, they just cut me through and through. And they penetrated into my deep being. That marked the end of my seeking. That marked the end of my trying to know what is reality. And that is when the reality is revealed, not to the individual, but you become the reality. Okay, so I hope I have not missed any question. Well, if I have missed any question, you can always reach out to me through email. And of course, there are links in the description box. If you would like to connect with me on WhatsApp channel, you are surely free to do that. Okay, so this one last question I will take. Brother, when we say we are already enlightened, what do you mean by that? So I don't say we are already enlightened. What I say is that enlightenment is a concept. So we need to examine as to what do we mean by enlightenment? What is it going to give us? Is it going to give us something that we have never experienced before? That is not possible, because, say, if you talk about infinite bliss, right? Infinite bliss. Now your mind has a certain idea about infinite bliss. So when you see that, you recognize it. That means you have already seen it before. And the moment you try to hold on to a one particular state, which you call enlightenment or whatever, it is then that our suffering begins. Because no state is permanent, no state is graspable in duality. But as Ashtavakra Gita says, that your nature is pure consciousness, the unaffected witness of the phenomenal world. So I think already enlightened, that's a bit confusing word. It does not mean that we are already enlightened. What it means is that this is a dream, a waking dream. So it does not matter whether the dream is, in which direction is it going. With the awakening, you understand that the pain and pleasure are a part of this waking dream. So he asks, so there's one more question. What is your daily routine? Well, I think we will cover that in another video, my daily routine. You see, I don't have a routine. Most of you will be surprised. I don't have a routine. I meditate when I want to. I don't meditate when I don't feel like meditating. Sometimes I go for walks. Sometimes go for I go to meet people. I don't get up in Brahma Muhurat. Sometimes I just live life spontaneously. That is the quality of my life. And my message is only about peace. It is not about enlightenment. There are certain things where I'm disciplined, but there are certain things where I'm indisciplined. But you see, I'm not much bothered about any of that because I know that God has created me this way. And if a change has to happen, God itself will bring about that change without my trying to do anything. So I guess we will finish this live stream for now. So, more like go with the flow kind of guy you are. I can relate. Yes, see, I'm not strictly in that sense go with the flow kind of guy. Mostly I am that way. But sometimes certain situations happen when I don't go with the flow. That also happens sometimes. So you see, not going with the flow is also a part of the flow. I hope I'm not confusing you. I have experienced a certain level of peace, and that is what matters to me. Concepts don't matter to me much. So you see, I'm not in search of anything. I live my life spontaneously. I spend time with my family. I give lots of time to my children. I help my wife with her work. And love is all, my message is all about love because I have been touched by it and I have seen the beauty of it. And that is what I, my message is. That is what I'm trying to communicate to you. Now, I'm not in control of whether I can bring that feeling within you, but certainly that is not going to stop me from spreading the message. So, I guess we will end this live stream for now and we will meet again soon. Thank you, all of you lovely people, for your beautiful companionship. Take care.